what's my story? I think let me connect my story more to um, mm, feeling at a pretty younger age that one of the funniest thing which I remember from my own teenage or my childhood is uh, feeling like an alien, a literal alien. Huh? Probably I also used to read a lot of extraterrestrial books or something, and I always used to think, "Yaar, I'm not from this planet," and I would say, these humans are a very destructive species. It's funny. It's really funny. So not being able to associate, see, the first funny thing which happened was that because my early childhood was in Iran, there were no Indian schools there. So I've not gone to school at least until the fourth or fifth grade class. So imagine such a blessing, huh? So all my education was done through encyclopedias. तो बचपन में इतने encyclopedia, you guys remember Britannia encyclopedias, no? And they are a storehouse of information, and I think until the age of 6 7 8 I almost knew everything from the encyclopedias, like the capitals of the world, Amazons and everything. I fell in love with astronomy and everything. I mean, the whole science of it, because they were so beautiful. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is I didn't have much of a public contact at until some time. And when on fourth or fifth grade, when I went to school in Abu Dhabi for the first time, this it was like coming into it was like a shock. Although I was very excited about it. यार कभी बच्चे नहीं देखे थे कभी school, so I was very excited. I'll put on a dress and I'll go to school. Now, one is I did always have a very inquisitive mind. One, as a child, I would ask the very wrong questions in my class always, because probably I did not know how to connect on to my teachers, and then I would definitely in the middle of the class ask something very foolish and stand up. I end up being an outstanding student. You know what is an outstanding student, no? I'm not like Bawa or Kashi, who were literally outstanding students. For me, the outstanding student uh, uh, transforms to standing out of the class. Okay, so although there was no malice there, but then I would questioning was my uh, I would always question. So now I do remember just having look at people. One of sometimes my mother used to share with me that probably it was a bad habit, me looking at people. So I would always look into their eyes. Huh? I would look at them, and one thing which my mother would be very shy of me. तो बोलते थे अरे भाई तू दूसरों की आंखों में नहीं देखते, don't look at. So I would look at their eyes, and once she asked me, what are you looking for? And I said something like, none of them look happy. None of them look happy. So it's interesting how we all grow up, and definitely, probably, I grew up with these questions of what is life, and what do I come here for? If one day I have to, find a job and get married and have a family and home, and then what? Finally, what? So then I would question, like, okay, all these people that we look in the world, they already have a family, they already have a good job, they have everything, and still they don't look happy. So why do we do all these things? कि भाई करते क्या हैं? What are we here for? So this was one very strong question, and I think this is what probably transformed, or it became like a fuel for my life very young, very early, and I think I must have started asking questions, and that is when I started reading books. The earliest ones, of course, all of us know. I think I fell in love with the Ramakrishna Paramahansa, the Swan. There's a beautiful book. As a young boy, I mean, somebody had gifted it to us, and then reading stories from Paramahansa Yogananda ji or different things. So now although nobody had ever told me to, I wouldn't listen to people. That's for sure. I was very strongly rebellious, and then Of course, I was a very good athlete, by the way. I was in my sprinters team. I was a sprinter, and because of my sprinting, I was also in my football team. I'm not very good with football, but at least I ran and I could kick the ball well. And I'm just sharing a little about. And then of course, heavy metal and hard rock was my childhood. This is what I heard too. Now, but at the same time, this is one part of it, and then second thing would be uh, these questions going on within me. So even with the classmates, it's a very interesting thing, because I would always look at their faces and wonder. They would sit and talk about things, and I'm looking at them and I'm just thinking, what are they talking about? I could never associate with their problems, and I would say it sounded absolutely petty, because their problems were not what I was thinking about. So sometimes in our life, in our school, and everything that we do, all of us are groomed in a certain manner, and I think probably the system never realizes that we are all different. We are all different. So how many of you had this early memory of trying very hard to be like everybody else? This is my memory. Trying very hard to be like everybody else, to be accepted, but inside knowing that we are not. I was not like everybody else. So it took a long time. It took a long time for me to digest this fact in life. And that is what one day, finally, I got to know about. I heard about this another spiritual enlightened master, the bearded man in our lives. Okay, so and what is the first question? Somebody in Abu Dhabi introduced it and showed me the book, and I asked him, "Who's this?" He said, "This is Sri Ravi Shankar." And okay, and then he said, "He's an enlightened master from India." So जैसे ही enlightened सुना तो मेरे कान खड़े हो गए, and I said, "अच्छा, who's this?" So what is the first question I asked him? I asked him, "Is he alive?" Uh, because you see, until now we had read so many books, so many masters, so many people who came into our lives, so many beautiful beings which came onto this planet. I was done reading books, and I was done reading the experiences of all these amazing people and their devotees. So I said, no, I want to see somebody who's alive, somebody who can answer my questions. Or jab this person said, this he's alive, I said, now we are talking. Tell me where he lives, and that's it. Then history. Then I ran away from home, which you shouldn't do. Okay. So that's about it. The rest of the story we'll talk about sometimes else. Avinash said it's a long story.
So Bhaiya,
Haji.
how was meeting Guruji for the first time like?
Ha. अच्छा, so
physical meeting.
Okay, physical meeting. तो भाई पहली बात तो ये है कि भाग गया घर से, है ना? And the only thing which I had was and ran away. When I say ran away, we were in Abu Dhabi, and that's where I went away from. And then can you pick up this book? This book. Remove 2 books from me. Perfect. I think this is okay. So the only thing which I carried was the book. How many of you have read God Loves Fun? Right? God Loves Fun, because it had the address at the back. तो उसको लेकर भागा, और I had to cook up some story for the parents. And then anyway, reaching, it was 1995 probably. So what I'm trying to build up is that look, when I was 18-year-old, and I was not looking for peace or happiness. I was an 18-year-old with I was a sportsman. I was good at it. I had enough friends, enough girlfriends. I was popular with my people. So definitely I was not looking for something in my life. You see that? I mean, But the urge to meet, the urge to find my answers was so strong. And the interesting bit was I did not know how to relate. I was not from an exceptionally religious family as such or something. So anyway, so I ran away because it mattered to me so much. And at the same time, I was also wondering, Kiar, where am I going? You get it, Avinash. I had not done Art of Living. I did not know anything about it. All that I knew was this enlightened master who is alive and who lives in South India somewhere. So that's it. And reaching there, I remember entering the ashram for the first time. It was May, and his birthday had, it was over just a couple of days back, and there were still quite a bit of people. Like, quite a bit meant, 600 people meant huge at that time. So I asked, I enter into the ashram. So think of this guy with long hair and earrings and probably a Metallica t-shirt or something, all dressed up in black. So I, so, and then I enter into a sea of white. Sab safed kapde pehen ke ghum rahe hain. I'm like, oh, and then they started looking at me like this, oh God, who's this? And then I looked at them and I said, took out the book. I said, where can I meet this man? God Loves Fun, no? You remember the book? So, oh, you want to meet Gurudev? I said, yes. So they took me, and that was the first time I witnessed a satsang. So if you have all been to the ashram, if you have seen the Sumeru Mantap that had just, it was just fresh and beautiful still. And there was a satsang going on. So all people sitting with and with a lot of big smiles. And I was just wondering, wow, how are they all smiling and just happy? Are they drugged or something? So I was just like looking at everybody's faces, weird songs they're singing. So that's where I saw him for the first time. So I sat at the back looking at him, his face. So there was this, the curiosity of what an enlightened master is. So I remember I kept on looking at him for quite a bit. There's a very interesting thing, Avinash. So he made everybody meditate. Okay, after that he said, okay, let's all meditate together. And सबकी आंखें बंद करा दी. So मैंने तो कभी यार ध्यान किया नहीं था लाइफ में. So I kept on looking at him and looking at everybody's faces, and of course killing mosquitoes at the same time. So midway into the meditation, this bearded man stands up. The bearded man, of course, you know who he is. He stands up and starts walking out. And of course, I'm looking at him. I said, this is pretty bad. Sabki aankhein band kara di. He's made everybody close their eyes and he's walking away. So, he just walks like that. It's a circular, how you've all been to Sumeru. And I was by the stairs. So he comes to me and I stood up. So he smiles and looks at me and he says, and what is the first thing he says? He says, are you from Abu Dhabi? And I'm telling you, I got scared. I did not know what to say. And I said, God, this is dangerous. So I had my mouth open and I think probably nodded like that. And again, he looked at me and he said, are you comfortable? And I had just come. So I said, so I did something. And he just smiled and he said, now you rest. I will see you tomorrow. Okay, he just smiled like that and went away. So that's it. And I was literally sweating and I did not know what happened. So that night anyway, I slept off. And then the next morning, I was having breakfast and somebody comes looking for, hey, where is that boy from Abu Dhabi? Gurudev is calling you. I said, okay. So I ran and the person who came to call me was, now you all know him as Swami Sadyojata. Okay. and that time he was a very sweet, lean person without any beard and hair, etc. and midway, while going to Gurudev's kutir, as usual, I did not have any other dresses. Now I'm wearing probably something like Pantera t-shirt or black something. I must be wearing toned jeans. So I looked at him and I said, "Hey, this is very nice that you're wearing." So I was pointing at his dhoti that he was wearing. So he said, "Yeah, this is called a mundu or a dhoti." I said, I really asked him, "Do you have another one of this?" So he laughed and he smiled. I said, "Yeah, of course I have many." I said, "Can you give me one?" So he laughed. He said, "Do you want one now?" I said, "Please, can you give me one?" So I was thinking, यार अब मिलने जा रहे हैं भगवान को थोड़ा dress up करके जाते हैं. So I said, "Yeah, please, can you?" So he was very sweet. He took me. The room was not very far, and he went to his room and he gave me a cloth which I didn't know how to wear, by the way. I said, "Can you help me wear it?" So I put on my belt on top of it, nice, and I said, "Okay, now let's go, better dressed." So there I go into his room, and then there he was sitting on his grand chair, and there were a few people there, and he was combing his hair. And I sat down at the back, curious, restless kid there, and all of a sudden he looked at me and he said, idhar aao, come here, come here. He just called me like that, and I crawled up to him. तो फिर अब मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा, I went close, and by that time I was thinking, what am I going to talk to him? Why am I here? So I had no clue why I was there anyway. I didn't want to ask for peace or God or happiness or something. I didn't want it anyway. But here I was in front of this strange man I did not know, which the world told me was enlightened, and I had no clue what enlightened means. But there I was, and it was very interesting. So I was thinking, how will I strike a conversation? What will I talk to him? तो मैं अपने प्रश्न गिनना शुरू कर दिया. थॉट I started counting my questions, and the moment I went close to him, he just looked at me, and you know what is the first thing he says? The first thing oh, sorry. Yeah, so he called me.
The video got paused for like
for 10 seconds, no? Yeah. Okay, so what happened was that he called me close, and so I was wondering कि यार बुला तो लिया, मैं पूछूंगा क्या उनसे. So I started counting my questions. So कि अच्छा ये पूछूंगा. So I go close to him, and he looks at me, and the first thing he says is, you have many questions to ask. Please tell me what you want to ask. अरे मैंने बोला बाप रे. And I just looked at him, and all the questions flashed off. I don't know how many of you have had the experience. I'm sure many of you have had and as if you fused out totally. So he did something, and that was much more confusing. So here I'm sitting and thinking what I'm going to talk to him. And then भाई सारे जो प्रश्न वगैरह थे वो तो दिमाग से उड़ गए. अब मैं बड़ा सीरियस सा फेस बनाया. I put up a very kind of a serious face, and I looked at him and I said, I want to talk to you something very important. Okay. So then he looked at me. Oh, you want to talk something very important? Yeah. So then I said, this is not working. Then I made a little more serious face, and I said, Naini, I want to talk to you something I was pretty close to him. I said, I want to talk to you something very important. Oh, he said, tell me. Then he did like this. I said, tell me. Then I said, looked at him. I said, no, not in front of all these people. Then he just smiled and said, no, they're all a family. You tell me, come here and tell me. Then I also did another this again. I said, no. I said, no, they're very important. So now you know what is the worst. Then all of a sudden he says, Acha bhai, go out, all of you. This boy wants to talk something very important. And this is like I really started sweating. So, and then everybody went out. And then he comes to me and he says, okay, tell me, what is it? What is the important thing that you wanted to speak? So that's it. I'm just standing in front of him, and I look at him and I laughed and I said, nothing. I literally said, nothing. So he just got hold of my ears like this and then, gave me a big hug. It was amazing, really. And at that moment, something, I don't know, I think um, something happened which can't be explained. I was also crying, and I don't know why I was crying, and I was also laughing at the same time. And I felt as if um, time had flown. They can't be explained. So he was very patient. He was very patient, like a mother. And after I must have wet a lot of his dhoti, I'm sure of it. Um, and and then afterwards, he just asked me, "Acha, tell me, what do you want?" He said, and I had literally never felt that way before, and I couldn't even explain what is happening to me. So I just looked at him and uh, without any doubts and with full force of my heart, with whatever was happening, I said, I want to live with you all my life. Uh, and for that, I had no doubts at all. There were no fears, there were nothing at all. I never even for a moment thought uh, something I had to return to. Nothing, nothing. It came so forcibly, so strong. I said, I want to live with you all my life. And he just smiled at me, he looked at me, and he